Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving right into what might be the biggest rivalry in all of tech, the smartphone camera. And this year, both the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Samsung S25 Ultra are claiming they've got the crown. We're here to find out who really deserves it. You know, for years, this has been a super close race, almost a photo finish every time. But this generation, I think we might just have a definitive winner. So let's figure out which one of these amazing camera systems you'd actually want to be using. And to get our answer, we're not just taking a few quick snaps. Nope. This is all based on a deep dive analysis of over 500 photos and videos taken on each of these powerhouse phones. We are going way beyond the surface to see who comes out on top. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll kick things off with the front camera, then jump into the zoom and video performance. After that, we'll compare all the details in daylight and wrap things up with a low-light test, and of course, our final verdict. First up, let's talk about the cameras we probably use more than any other, the front-facing ones. How do they stack up for all our selfies and vlogs? Wow, okay, right off the bat, the difference is huge. The iPhone's new front camera is way wider, so you get more of the scene around you. But the real showstopper is the dynamic range. That's just the camera's ability to see details in really bright and really dark areas at the same time. Just look at how the iPhone keeps all the detail in those clouds, while on the Samsung, the sky is just completely blown out.
And Apple's improvements, they go way beyond just a wider shot. The stabilization when you're moving, say running and vlogging, it's so much smoother. And get this, you can now shoot a landscape video while holding the phone vertically. It's this really clever trick that keeps your eyes centered. And maybe most importantly, the skin tones are no longer overly warm or weird. They look more neutral, well, technically correct.
Okay, let's flip over to the rear cameras and see what happens when we test out that all-important zoom. This, my friends, is where things start to get really competitive. Now, if you just look at the spec sheet, you might think, oh, Samsung's got this. It has a 5x optical zoom and a 50-megapixel sensor. I mean, on paper, they're incredibly close. But the real story, the thing that makes all the difference, it's not the hardware. It's the software processing. It's all about how each phone decides to interpret the scene in front of it. All right, let's try a little test. I'm about to flash two zoomed-in photos on the screen. You've got literally 1 second to decide which one you think looks better. You ready? Go. So, which one did you pick? If you chose the Samsung, you are definitely not alone. Its processing just cranks up the contrast and sharpening, which makes the image instantly pop. But, as this quote says, when you really start to look closely, you realize that all that vibrancy, it comes at a cost, often sacrificing the natural color and texture of whatever you're shooting. Now when we switch over to video, the whole debate shifts from just detail to something much, much more important for creators: consistency. Okay, so here's the crucial point. The iPhone gives you remarkably consistent color when you switch between any of its lenses. For anyone who edits video, this is a massive deal. It saves you hours of work trying to match shots in post. Now, Samsung does offer 8K video, which is awesome for cropping in later, but the colors can shift pretty dramatically from lens to lens, and that just creates a headache for editors. All right, in bright, sunny daylight, let's be honest, both of these phones take absolutely gorgeous photos. So to really find the differences, we have to pull out the virtual magnifying glass and start peeping at those pixels. For most of us who are just posting to social media, it really just boils down to a style choice. Do you like Samsung's bright, vibrant, ready-to-post look, or do you prefer the iPhone's more neutral take? But if you're the kind of person who analyzes every single pixel, the iPhone consistently wins on fine detail, it shoots faster, which helps freeze motion, and it delivers those more predictable, natural skin tones. So a big reason the iPhone pulls ahead here is its default resolution. It shoots at 24 megapixels while Samsung defaults to 12. Now, more megapixels doesn't always mean a better photo, but in this case, it means the iPhone is capturing twice the raw information, which gives its software so much more to work with. You can really see it in portrait mode, where the texture on a shirt stays sharp, or in action shots, where the iPhone freezes water droplets perfectly while the Samsung has a little bit of motion blur. All right, it is time for the final round. Low light. This is the ultimate test for any camera's sensor and its processing magic. Can Samsung maybe pull back some ground here when things get dark? You know, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but there is a clear trend. Samsung's photos do have a bit better dynamic range. It handles super bright signs in a dark scene a little better. But the iPhone's portrait mode quality holds up incredibly well. Its zoom is surprisingly stronger in the dark, and its processing tries to give you natural detail. Samsung, on the other hand, can sometimes, well, invent detail, making the image look a little fake or overprocessed. So, after all of that, after all the tests, from selfies to zoom, from day to night, if we put everything else about these phones to one side, which camera system is the one to get?
Well, the verdict is in, and it's pretty decisive. While last year's models were super close, this year the iPhone 17 Pro Max hasn't just edged ahead. The gap between it and the S25 Ultra has actually become pretty significant. So here's the bottom line. It really all comes down to what kind of photographer you are. If you just want photos that pop with amazing color and are ready to share in an instant, Samsung's approach is fantastic for that. But if you're a creator, if you need that color consistency for video and the most detail possible for editing, the iPhone is the clear winner. It just gives you a better, more flexible starting point.
So yeah, the iPhone seems to have taken the crown this year. But listen, no matter which of these phones you own, the camera itself is only half the battle. Getting creative with how you shoot can make an even bigger difference. And sometimes a simple accessory can unlock a ton of new possibilities.
For example, getting a case with a built-in rotating stand is a total game changer. It's like having a tripod with you at all times. You can magnetically mount your phone to a metal pole, hook it into a pocket for a really unique angle, or just set it up for a hands-free video call. It unlocks so much creative potential on either one of these phones. And that leaves us with one final thought. Apple has clearly worked hard to iron out its weaknesses, and it's created a pretty significant lead. The big question now is, what's Samsung going to do next to close that gap and try to reclaim the camera crown? We'll just have to wait and see.